Hey guys, how you doing? Welcome back to the REI Network podcast with me, Gavin Timms. Super excited. I have a guest on today. I'm going to bring him over here shortly. Just before I do, if you are a new listener, make sure you like and subscribe, whether it be on YouTube or the podcast. And if you want a free download to go and get some of my documents, go to reinetwork.com/download, reinetwork.com/download. And you will be able to get some free stuff. So check that out. Okay, so let me bring him over. I have one of my clients, good friends. I've known him for years, Brooks Everline. Here he is. Brooks, how are you?
I am doing well, Gavin. Thank you so much for the opportunity to be on the show with you today. I appreciate that, man.
No, absolutely. I appreciate you. I know we've been talking about doing this now for a few weeks, and here we are recording it. So Thank you for joining. And I thought it was going to be really good. You're a good guy in terms of, the value that you can bring today, especially from, getting started, coming out kind of the gate, getting this business off the ground. Plus, obviously, you were doing over $200,000 while still working a full-time job. And obviously now you've exited your W-2. You've been kind of going here for about a year full time. So we're going to obviously branch and go through that. So take us back to the beginning. Tell us kind of how you got started, and let's go from there.
Well, it's an interesting story for sure. I was set in my ways, to be quite honest with you. I was working a W-2 job, great company, UPS, great pay, great benefits. Most people that work that job never leave, right? They don't leave that company. But I transitioned from house to house, which was delivery service, right, to tractor trailer. And a good friend of mine gave me his Audible account. He had some books in there that he suggested that I listen to instead of, talking on the CB radio at night. So I started to fill my head with books like Think and Grow Rich, Richest Man in Babylon, The One Thing, all the books that you hear people talk about on real estate podcasts that kind of got them motivated to take action.
Yep.
And that kind of got my wheels turning, that there was a different way to live, not just go to work every day for someone else, but you could actually make this work for yourself.
Yep.
Then later he transitioned. He said, there's some podcast stuff. So I started searching through podcasts, came across Stitcher Radio. I don't even know if Stitcher's still a thing, to be quite honest with you, but that's where I listened. I had an Android phone, and came across real estate podcasts, and I'll never forget the one that changed my life. And I still think they're doing this today, but it was Lifestyles Unlimited. Now, these gentlemen were buying small, large apartment complexes like syndications and so forth. And I was just shocked. I was just literally shocked that this was possible. And no money required, right? You were raising money from other people and exiting these large deals with huge chunks of money for you and your partners. It was hard to fathom. So that kind of got me started. I continued to do the business for obviously up until just last year, while pursuing that dream of freedom through real estate. After listening to that podcast for a week or so, I joined their course, bought my first 4-unit rental property, which was vacant with all private money. So my first deal was zero down out of my pocket. It was vacant. We rehabbed it, refinanced it, and lo and behold, that process works. It worked from the very first deal. My very first real estate deal was a zero down 4-unit that I rehabbed, refinanced out all of the capital, still own it to this day, and it's still cash flow strong. So that kind of brings you up to speed with how I got started.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And that's awesome, right? So obviously getting in the right mindset, right? I think that's really important. I talk a lot about it, and people don't want to talk about it, right? They don't want to listen to the potential, like, mindset, it's hype and it's this and that. And they want to just go strategy. And I think it's absolutely the worst thing that you can do, because you'll never do a deal if you don't believe in what you're doing, or you don't believe that you can actually do it, whichever that may be, whether it's the market, whether it's you, whether it's the strategy, or, when I work with people, that's kind of the hardest thing to break. Like I make sure I'm very selective, as you know, who comes into the group. And there's reasons for that, because I don't need someone coming into the group trying to prove me that it doesn't work. It makes no sense, right? Why are you going to spend your energy by proving me that I told you this didn't work? I told you cold calling didn't work, or direct mail didn't. I told you this didn't work in this market. Like, they're just coming in with a complete wrong mindset. And that's what we have to change from day one. Why not think about well, I can do it. If someone else is doing it, and there's a deal being done in every single market or has been done across the United States, right? So if someone else has done it, then you can do it. And there's no other way, right? Are you a half empty or half full kind of guy? And you've got to look at that on the positive side. So, I mean, what do you think on that? I think obviously them books was the key foundation for you to start heading in the right direction to be successful.
100% true what you just laid down. You have to believe what you're doing and then create the plan. So Think and Grow Rich was the biggest book for me because it outlines success for whatever you want to do, right? It doesn't have to be real estate. For me, it just happened to be real estate. It lays out success principles for you for whatever that is. But then you have to follow that plan that you lay down, right? So to your point, number one, you have to believe it. Then you have to create the plan, but you have to then, and this is the most important, and everyone will tell you this, you have to work your plan. Like if you don't work, the plan doesn't work.
100%.
Just doesn't work, you know, and we're all guilty of it. One of the biggest nemesis for me is procrastination. I would think that most people struggle with that to some extent. And as if you allow that to creep in, it'll overtake you, right? It'll start to like, you know, to the 10th power, right? It'll overtake what you're trying to do. So you have to nip procrastination in the butt right away and eliminate the what ifs, could haves, maybes. As long as you shoulda, you know, you name it, right? You just have to keep taking one step every single day to what it is that you're pursuing, what it is that you're desiring. And where most people get tripped up is they think that they can't think too big. Like that's just false. Like if you want to be a millionaire, you can be a millionaire. How are you going to get there is your path, right?
Yep.
You know, you're really only limited by your mind. And that is so true, man. So true.
Yep. No, absolutely. 100% correct. But this is where people don't get it right, like we just talked about, right? And it's just like when people say, well, this market doesn't work, I'm going to go into another market. Or this strategy doesn't work, so I'm going to focus on creative finance. Or I'm going to go and do land now. Or whatever it may be. And that's fine. It's fine to have them thoughts. It's fine to make them decisions. But do not kid yourself. Are you doing the fundamentals well to get the result? And that's where when people chase the shiny objects and they're jumping, trying to do a deal, it's because they're not consistent and they're not focused, right? We just did a panel of experts, right? And we talked about that. Consistency and focus are the two key things in this business. And that's what people miss because they look and go, well, I tried, but at what level did you try? Did you do the things that it took to get a deal? Because if you didn't, do not kid yourself by changing strategy or market and think it's going to be any different in that area, because it is literally like starting all over again. So if you've been trying for 3 months and then you go, well, I'm going to change market, it's just like day one on the job again. You got to season your leads. You got to get consistent. You got to get focused. And then you're now 6 months in and you're going now into a different strategy and you're not doing them fundamentals until you can say, actually, for 3 months, you know, I talked to 5 pre-screened sellers. I made 3 offers. So basically you've made 180 offers in 3 months and you didn't get one contract. I just don't think it's possible with them numbers. You have to be doing deals if you hit your numbers.
To that point, so we use a thing called the daily navigator sheet, right? And on that it's basically a tracking sheet, right? I want to track from, you know, my assistant, how many posts did she make to Craigslist for this, right? We do Craigslist marketing. How many sellers did she talk to today? And then for me as well, right? How many sellers did I speak to that were already pre-qualified? How many voicemails did I drop? How many text messages? This sounds elementary, and it is. It is that elementary. But I will tell you what elementary gets you. It gets you anything that you want in this business. If you'll follow the elementary principles, you'll go to the college Harvard degree with the doctorate faster than anyone can blink an eye. When I look back at the time where I'm most successful, right? When do I need to ramp up and make a lot of cash? I just get busy with the basics.
Yep, 100%.
Period. I just get busy.
Love that.
I break out this sheet and I go 100 miles an hour every day, track it like a bandit. When I fall off, guess what happened? I'm not tracking my numbers. I'm not making sure I'm hitting the calls. Now there could be other things that are happening. Like, for instance, I was telling you, like, the beginning of the year is heavy with me with tax season because I don't only like move property, right? Like, we have a big rental portfolio.
Yep.
We do creative financing. I have like 4 lease options cooking right now. We have a couple subject to deals that are always in our pipeline. So those are different. Like, we really run like 3 different businesses within real estate, which is tough to manage in itself. And we only have a small team, just me, an assistant, and one one handyman for really all those properties. So it's, we're doing a lot on a small scale, but it all boils down to the basics, which is why I decided to work with you, just to be flat out. Like, I needed someone for accountability to help me to kind of shoot me straight. Like, let's eliminate this. And we haven't even got to that point in our journey together, just because we've been, we're busy right now. But we're going to get there, because that's what this is about. I want to simplify things more so that I can get back to just those elementary basics, right? And that's what everyone's plan should be. Do the elementary stuff to just hit really, really good numbers for yourself, because that's what it'll do for you.
100%. And that's great, because people think like more complex that they need this business to be, and that's how you get better. And it isn't, right? There's 4 things in this business: marketing, talking to sellers, making offers, and following up. That is the basic thing. If you do them 4 things well, or you do them 4 things great, you will make money in this business. It doesn't matter on the strategy. It doesn't matter anything. It doesn't matter about anything else. And you're exactly right. When things aren't going to plan, because you're trying this and you're testing that, you might get a little bit lazy. You stop tracking. When everyone's good when they're on top, right? And it's going, that's when you're at your most vulnerablest, right? When I say I have a new client that goes and makes 30 grand, now what are you going to go and do with it? Now you've got it. Massive win. Congrats. But now, are you still motivated? Are you still driven to go and now make it again? Or are you going to live off that for 3 months and then go, I got to start doing deals again, and then you're back in the race? And that's what we got to try and do. How do we build automation and delegation so that the hamster wheel keeps turning without us, right?
100%.
And the big thing is that we're going to be working on with you is you're already making the money. You're doing the deal on a very, very small team, which is impressive. You're busting it while you're doing it, which everyone's got to work hard, but also you need to be able to now have time off and you still make them numbers. And that's the key for you.
Correct.
Is travel, do what you want family wise, and then go, you know what, I'm going to take 2 days off, but we just got 3 more contracts in and it didn't rely on me. That's where we need to get to.
100%. And that is what this year, this first quarter, hopefully it doesn't trickle into Q2, but if it does, it does. That is the main priority. I hate to say this as I'm getting older, but I am 40 now. And, I just see life differently than I did 5 years ago. That sounds crazy, right? Because I'm not old by any stretch, but I see life differently. My kids are getting older. There's things that I want to do with them, with me, that I haven't done yet. For no reason. There's no reason that I shouldn't have, be taking, more vacations, doing more things. So that is a number 1 push for me this year, is to get to that point and let the business continue to run while I'm doing whatever else that I need to be doing. So,
yeah. And absolutely, there's always different growing phases, right? And it's always continuous. I don't have it all mapped out either, right? We went heavily into flips and it derailed the wholesale, and you learn, and we went 4, 5, 6 flips at a time, and then all the wholesale people had to start working on that because things was going sideways, and it's a learning process. Now I know next time, I know what I missed, I know what I need to do, and a lot of it's through them key players, right? Having your key players around you to be able to build that. But let's go back a little bit. So when you start making this money, you're working. So tell us, like, how did you had a plan? Everyone needs a plan so you can execute, right? If you don't have a plan, you spin your wheels. You sit there for 6 hours and do nothing. Not that you didn't just sit there thinking about watching TV. You literally sit there trying to do something, but you didn't have a plan, so you couldn't execute. So you just got overwhelmed basically and had 5,000 things going on in your head, and then you didn't execute on any of them. So the first thing is you got to build that plan, then you got to execute. So tell us a little bit, like, how did you plan your day out, like time management wise, to be able to get this business and make this money while you were working?
So I worked at night, which was helpful for this. We obviously used direct mail, which we could automate. Okay. At the beginning, it was all direct mail. Mm-hmm. So my assistant would handle the incoming calls. Usually I was asleep, right? She would have pre-screened seller leads that I would call, usually on my way home from working nights. So if I had 3 or 4 motivated people I needed to speak to, that's when I did it. So from 9 to like 12, that is also the time that I would go and look and see properties. So if we had someone that was qualified enough for me to go look at their property, I did it then, or after I would wake up, which was about 5, 6 in the evening. So dedication, discipline, right? I sacrificed a lot. I sacrificed a lot of time, sleep, family, quality time to make the business what it is, to get it off the ground. Built the rentals up fairly quickly, right? Because my process, or my journey is a little different. So we built rentals first, and then did rehab flips, and then started to do wholesales and things like that. So it was kind of backwards of what most people do.
Yeah.
So I had a pretty good income coming in from rental properties, and my assistant would manage those. So I wasn't like taking maintenance calls and things like that during the day, fortunately, because that would have just, well, I did for a short period of time. Let's not sugarcoat it here. I did do that for a period of time. Mm-hmm. So I think it's invaluable for someone who's trying to do it. You need to learn the business, because that way you can tell if a property management company is giving you good service or not, if it's rentals that you're in. If it's wholesales, obviously you need to be the one doing that business so that you know what it takes, so that you can hold your team accountable, that you can hold your acquisitions person to a higher standard, so that you can listen into their calls. And then obviously as time changed, like the last year I was driving tractor trailer, I had a day run, which was 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. So I would take calls, man. I mean, I'd be driving down to, major interstates, and I'd be talking to sellers on the phone. As soon as she gave me a lead, I'd call them back, and I'd be locking up contracts or the best of my ability, or setting my own appointments on the telephone. Yeah. And it just, was
yeah. I think the thing is, you just, like when I got started, you just have to do what it takes. Right. And it's not forever. Okay. Right. Now, one of the biggest things is that when I had you on the panel the other day, that we talked about, is that you would have wished that you would have got more help sooner to exit sooner. Because I've known you for about 5 years, and I knew the money you were making. And I'm like, dude, like, just go, like, just do it. Just get on your own and do it. But again, you had a good job. You didn't hate your job, good benefits. Like, so you had more riding, you had a family, and it's only right when it's right for you. Right. I went all in, and I'd never even done a deal. I'd not done nothing. Right. But I didn't have the responsibilities of other people. So, I'd moved from England into the United States. I'd already made the biggest decision of my life to that point. So anything else was kind of like, well, whatever. If I can do that, I can do anything. Right. So, so I don't know where I was going with that, but basically,
so I think what you were going to say is, and I would 100% second this: get help faster, right? Mm-hmm. Don't try to take a little bit from this person, a little bit from this person. They call it, I guess, the YouTube University. Can you learn how to do things on YouTube? Absolutely. It is such a valuable tool, and you should use it as continued learning, right? However, you should jump on board with someone like you guys or whoever, right? Whoever's best for you to expedite the learning curve and to get you. I mean, here's the thing, right? And you're right. I put this off way too long because it's a tax write-off too, right? As a business owner, guys, it's self-improvement. You are joining a membership. Your coach. It's coaching. You can write that off as an expense on your taxes. So for me, I have no excuses. I mean, it was just being bullheaded. And that's just, let's call it what it is. So, but now, like I said, I got older. I got to the point where I was like, this has to change because I'm not willing to sacrifice this anymore for this, right? It's just it's not necessary. And why wouldn't you? You want to create a business for yourself, not another W-2 job. And that's what you will fall into. And you will be more busy than you were at your job for sure by 120%. And you will have no one to help you do this, do that. Where at your company, you have other coworkers, you have a boss you can go to, you have all these different things. When it's just you doing it, man, it gets lonely quick. And you know, so I would say,
and also, I mean, the two key words: discipline, right? Dedication that you need in this business. And you are exactly right. And sometimes you don't have the support as an entrepreneur early on because you're not proven of friends and family, right? And people around you. No, and that's nothing, like, that's just their opinion and that's their feeling, and you have to take that on board. But you don't always have that. So not is it a lonely place, not is it that you have to stay, you know, you have to get yourself out of bed, you have to stay up after work. You know, when I was in England traveling, I'd be getting up at 3 a.m. to do seller calls because it was people in Phoenix, 7-8 hours difference, and they were getting off work. So it was either do a deal and get up or just say, well, I ain't going to do the deal again. It wasn't an option. So you're getting up at 2. No one else was saying you need to get up at 2. I was making myself do that because I could have made 5-10 grand by doing it. So that's what I did. So it's all these little things that you have to sacrifice, but also making sure that everyone's on board, that there's a time frame in place, because everyone has a job to start with, but it's the way that the plan of exit, how you're going to exit the business is the key. How do you actually get out and put other people in place? And that's when them building a business is all about, you know, key players, because if it's not you, you're the best. Anyone in their business is the best. And don't be deluded. Your acquisition manager, it's a job. Your admin, it's a job. Then they may fight for you and they like you and they're going to show up and they're going to do their best, but it's not their business. So they're never going to work as hard as you. They're never going to want it as much as you. And you can't expect that. And just go back to the jobs that we've had. We show up and do a job, but we're not that bothered if it's not going well or whatever. We want it to work, but we're not going to be like losing sleep over it. But when it's yours, it's different. So changing again that mindset, the entrepreneur life, the mindset, the work-life balance, all of these things. And again, I don't get it perfect. You know, I don't get it right myself. And it's a battle. The internal, to be able to shut off as an entrepreneur and be present is one of the hardest things for me in life.
It is. It so is. It's the number one, man. It's like, well, I'll just look at this. Even when you're trying to relax in the evening, it's just the phone never stops. So I applaud people who can master that. And I think it's super important, because that's when you really know that you have created something that can sustain without you, right? And knowing that and having the confidence in your team to handle those things that comes up when you're with your family or when you're trying to be present doing something else. That's just a business, right? That's a business. I know for me personally, you overcomplicate that. Like you just said, you think it has to be me, or if it's not me, no one's going to get it better than you. Well, even if they do it 80% to what you could do, that's better than you sacrificing not going to dinner with your family or missing your kid hit a home run at the baseball game because you're taking a phone call. Right. I mean, you know,
and I do it all the time, and I still do it, and I'm working on it. But it's like, I've learned to know that this is going to be just like mindset, just like reading a book, just like dieting, just getting thin or bulking up or whatever you're trying to do. It's consistency, and it's doing it a bit better every day to make yourself better. Right. And I can have conversations sometimes with people, and I'm thinking about a deal. I have no idea what's happening right now, and I'm just agreeing with you, and I'm not concentrating one bit. And I'm like, I'm doing it again. Like, why am I doing that? Like, I've answered something and I've agreed, and I don't even know what we're talking about. So, and it's little things like that take time. and I did it. I just did it on Sunday. I was at the golf event, the Phoenix Waste Management. There's a hole in one. I have a box on 16, and I'm on the phone. Missed it. I seen it. I seen the uproar, but I missed it because I wasn't present. I'm on the phone on a Sunday. Another example. So it's something that is a constant work, and it's doing things like shut the phone off, put it in the other room, take your watch off. This, as much as I love it, which is, if you're not on video, which is the iWatch, I love it, but it's brutal.
Yeah,
brutal, because it's like I'm doing something and my phone's ringing, and then I'm like, oh, I gotta take this. Like, so you got to put your watch in the other room. You got to do these silly things to really, if you really want to, be present. And that's what I'm working on. But my point is, as an entrepreneur, is they're always trying to learn and grow. We're not perfect,
right.
And no one is. So you've just got to really work on the mindset, understand how you're going to exit, understand you got to work harder than ever. But it's, what am I going to do when I start making money? What am I going to do? Who am I going to hire? Who can I hire now? What can I outsource immediately so I can focus on making the money? Because if you're wearing every hat in the business, you're going to be very busy, doing a lot of very busy work that's not really going to make you any money, but it needs to be done, right? And that's where I think a VA, a local assistant, are the first hires that you need to make, so they can generate these things, doing direct mail, inbound calls, so you can take them. Because if you're not on the phone, in my opinion, if you're not on the phone, you're not making money. And I have that still today. If I am not talking, I'm not making money, unless you have a mouthpiece as a partner.
100%. And if you're doing all of those small tasks in your business, when it comes time to make the money-making things happen, you're already exhausted. And that is the problem, right? That is a problem. So any advice for somebody that's starting out, right? Do what you said, get that VA, get somebody to offload all those small tasks that are they're important. They have to be.
Oh, yeah, they're very important.
But you got to get rid of them. You got to get them off your plate. So that way you can spend your time talking to sellers. You can spend time sharpening up your sales skills on the, role playing with other people, going over how you're going to handle calls, listening to calls, the actual stuff that, brings money in. But more importantly, I think that you should enjoy what you do. So if you don't enjoy talking on the phone, you need to find somebody who does.
Yes. Yep.
Because you're just going to be fighting a battle, right? If it's something you despise doing and the phone's a cactus to you, or talking to sellers is really uncomfortable, you're not going to do it. And then you're not going to make any money. Then you're going to say this doesn't work.
Yep.
And really it's just because you have kept a job that you should have given to someone else way sooner. I am guilty of this with some of those little tasks, right? They weigh me down.
Yeah.
I'm still, which I told her this will be the last time she has my input for tax season, right? So
yeah, and then we talked about that, and when I get someone and work someone like you, I'm like, what are you doing? Like, why are you the one doing all them things? Because how much time, right? If you look and you're going to make, I don't know, let's say you make 50 grand a month, right? I know for sure that you can go and hire a full tax person or a bookkeeper that's going to do all that, so you can focus on making 50 grand a month. Because if you take your time and put it in, it's costing you a lot more than what a bookkeeper costs, right? For instance, and it's stressful and it's a nightmare. I have Lauren, who works for me, works full time on flips, properties, managing the books, doing all that, but it's the best money that I can spend, because one, I hate it. One, I'm not good at it. And two, if I was doing it, it's going to cost me a ton of money because I'm doing it, and that's just one thing in the business. And then we go on to other things like, a task that I got you to do. I need to know what is everything that happens in your business. And then what are the things that you actually want to do, and what then do you need to do, right? And when we look, you have all these tasks, and I'm like, why? Because you don't need to be doing them. But it's just the unknown, and it's just building that, because you're a grafter, right? You're a grinder. That's why you're successful. I already know that. So how do we then go, well, if you want to grow, we need your time back. Or if you want a life, we need your time back. So whatever we're going to do, we need your time.
Correct.
And that's going to be the move. And everyone's different. I mean, some people love to work, right? So, and you're one of them people. I am. I love to work. I said to Gabe yesterday, who works for me, we kind of took the afternoon off yesterday. We've been in challenges, and I felt guilty for doing it. I felt guilty for not working. And it's crazy. And it's trying to, again, rebuild it. And you laugh because I know you do. I know you do, because it's entrepreneur. No one says, like, until you do it and you crack it. And I think it comes with age and it comes with time and all of them things. But you have to identify it and look for it, of the things that we've been talking about today. But go on, what was you going to say?
You know, to that point, because you're right, I do the same thing. But now I've been asking, like, one in particular seller sticks out in my mind because it was recent, like last week. And I asked him, beautiful home, and they just were ready to sell right away. Like, just get up and move south. And I'm thinking, what inspires people to act so quickly with this house that you could list and make more money than me? And he sat down and we're out in the front yard and we're talking about this. And he just says, you know what? Number one, money's not everything. And number two, I'm on short time. I'm on short time. And he's like, we want to go and do everything we want to do right now. And this house means nothing to us. I mean, so,
wow.
So when you put
Powerful.
things into perspective, right? You know, because we're in the business of helping sellers, right? And there's always some sort of problem, usually when we're called to help a seller.
Well, if there isn't, there's not a deal.
There's no deal. Correct.
Yeah.
But more lately, I've been asking just to try to get to know them a little better. I don't know. Like I said, maybe it's I'm getting older. I'm just trying to feel these waters for myself. And it's never about the money. It's just not. It's never about making more money for people. It's about having better experiences. It's about making more memories.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, I would tell anyone who listens to this, like, making money in real estate is great and anyone can do it, because you really can. You really can. If you'll focus, you'll dedicate, and you'll get hired up with somebody, and the money's phenomenal. You can retire. You can make a lot of passive income. The sky's the limit for you. But don't lose sight of getting to that point where you allow that to all happen, and you don't make as much money, because you're not going to make as much money, but you're going to have the time to do all the things that most people will never do because they won't sacrifice in the beginning.
For sure. And that's the exit plan, right? That's having the plan of okay, I got to work. I'm going to do this. And I had like a 3-year plan. I was like, okay, within 3 years, how do I exit the business? And that's what I did, you know. Yeah. And I ran a plan with no money other than time. I made money from 100% or 50% of the profit without any outgoings other than my phone and my Wi-Fi, right? Yeah. So I knew that, and I knew I was working 10, 12 hours a day being on the phone doing it, but I knew I could build up enough money to then exit that, find someone else, build the systems, and then start creating it. And that's what I did. So it was all part of the journey. And I did a podcast on this before, but I found kind of my book and my strategy from when I first opened a course and got into real estate, and I had my goals. And I had my short, medium, and long-term goals, and I had no idea what I was doing. And it was kind of amazing that my long-term goals actually happened, right? And I had that vision, and that's what I did. But it was the journey of getting there was wrong. Like, even from like the marketing that I said I was going to do, it all changed. From the market that I picked, I made mistakes. I was in California, and I went to and I was getting off the golf course at 5, 6 o'clock, and I was marketing in Jacksonville, Florida, with a 3-hour time difference. It's 9 o'clock at night. I can't have my phone on at the golf course. Like, all of these mistakes that you make, but that's how you learn, right? You learn from mistakes. And even in our coaching calls today, it's not what have I done that's a super success. It's like, what has gone wrong so you don't do it.
100%. You learn from your failures. We all hear these things, right? We all hear it. It's repeated over and over. You just have to accept it and try to. I never could understand this. Who would want to fail forward faster? Right? That concept to me was just like ridiculous. But the sooner that you find out that something, I love this by Jim Rome, I think says this. I know he does a lot. The sooner you find out something doesn't work, then you change the plan. But at least you know it doesn't work like fast. So
absolutely.
Yeah. So I mean, it's just you have to know when things aren't going the way that you want them. Course correct. Figure out if it's you or if it's the system, whatever it is, but don't delay, right? You need to find out now whatever's going on so that you can make things happen in a different direction. And at the end of the day, if something like you're going to win some, you're going to lose some. Like you're going to buy some deals or you're going to get stuck with some deals that you don't want. Like I'm closing on one right now that I don't really want. That's part of the business, No,
absolutely.
I could walk away from it, but then there goes my reputation. So my reputation means more than losing a little bit on a house. It just.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And again, that comes with experience and time, right? So to be able to do them things. So awesome, Brooks. Well, look, I know we're at 35 minutes here and I appreciate you. I think people are going to get a lot of gold out of this. So guys, if you're watching, make sure you like and subscribe, drop us a comment. I'll make sure Brooks sees it if it's for him or if it's for me. Make sure you drop us a comment and we'll try and get back to you. Brooks, before we wrap it up, anything else? But again, I appreciate you.
No, man, I really appreciate the opportunity. I'm looking forward to getting more in depth with you in the program because that's what I came to you for. But I would just leave everyone with this. I think it's number one, like Gavin, we started, your mindset is huge. And I think that it's how you wake up and how you close your days. So have a morning routine, whatever that is for you, reviewing your goals, do some reading, a really good book, spend 20, 30 minutes reading. It sounds hoo-hooey, but yoga has always been great. Just do something that is this consistent every single morning and then review your plan at morning, at night. And that's how you start and in your days, and you'll be amazed at where you'll go. You'll just be amazed at where you'll go in life. So that's what I would leave you with.
I love that. No, absolutely. And one thing I never asked when we got into your journey here, and I just want to plug something real quick for people, is what markets are you actually working and buying in right now?
So we are an hour, 20 or hour and a half west of Baltimore and DC. So Maryland, West Virginia, Pennsylvania, and Winchester area of Virginia. So we work little pockets of those states. So, I mean, we ride right along Interstate 81.
4 states.
Correct.
Anywhere close to that, that's where you're kind of doing deals and looking.
Absolutely. Frederick, Maryland. If anyone, I mean, we're a little west of Montgomery County. So, just give us a holler. I mean, even if it's a deal that, is out of our market, I mean, we know how to move deals. So,
And so if you have any, I just got a thing here on the screen. So send your local deals or deals if you want, if you want a JV with Brooks in that local area, 240-342-4675. That's kind of his buyer's line to see what, if you have a deal, like I said, that they can either buy or maybe JV, then hit him up. So I just want to share that.
Or if you want to, figure out how to be a passive partner. I mean, we're always buying deals too. So that starts with the relationship. So
great. Awesome. And guys, just real quick for me, if you are interested in working, if you want to come in to our group, our mentorship, we go live every single day with group calls. We have a lot of other stuff going on, which is awesome. You can surround yourself with people like Brooks in the group. We have a lot of successful people. We have a lot of new people, and everyone is trying to elevate up in their own rights, in their own way. So if you're interested, go to reinetwork.com/join, reinetwork.com/join, and check that out. And that is all we've got. So Brooks, I appreciate you, bud. Thank you so much again. We'll get you back on in a few months, kind of get an update on what's happening with you, and we'll go from there. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, man. Appreciate it, Gavin.
All right. Bye-bye.